On the 7th day of tutoring Ryan, I had a dream about the future. In that dream, 2 years later, Ryan would grip my wrist. He'd press me down against the desk, kissing me with abandon. Upon waking, I didn't know how to tell Ryan about this, because at that moment, he was telling his friends, in a detached tone, "I can't stand Melissa. If every woman in the world disappeared, I still wouldn't like her." Chapter 1. The first time I met Ryan, I knew he was trouble, a real handful. That day, I stood at the door of the Chan family's villa, knocking politely. "Hello, I'm the new tutor." No response. The door was slightly ajar, so I pushed it open. By the time I realized something was off, it was too late. A glass of water poured down from above, drenching me completely. Laughter erupted nearby from a group of young people. "Look! She fell for it, Laura. That was a great idea." The girl named Laura lifted her head, looking as proud as a peacock, but she ignored everyone around her, gazing instead towards the second floor. "Ryan, did you enjoy the show?" On the second floor stood a boy. I admit, I'd never seen someone so strikingly handsome, pale, beautiful. When he lowered his eyes, there was a mischievous divinity to him. His lips curved into a cold smile. Boring. Chapter 2. "Are you Ryan?" I asked. "Yeah." "Are they your friends?" "Yeah." I took out a tissue and wiped my face. "I'm the live-in tutor your dad hired for you. My name's Melissa, but you can call me Miss Lissa or just Lissa." Ryan let out a soft scoff, clearly unimpressed. But I didn't get angry. Despite the water dripping from my hair, I kept my steps steady as I headed up the stairs. The laughter around us faded. "What's going on? Why isn't she crying? Must be in shock. Oh my god. She's coming in. Didn't the last few get so mad they stormed off?" I walked right up to Ryan. "Thank you for the warm welcome. From you and your friends. I brought a little surprise for you too." I unscrewed the lid of my thermos and poured it all over Ryan's head. Not a single drop left. Ryan was speechless. Chapter 3. It wasn't just Ryan who was stunned. His gang of friends stood there, equally dumbfounded. Silence filled the villa. Laura was the first to break it, screaming, "Are you crazy? How dare you treat Ryan like that? Do you even realize that someone like you, a poor college student, could be crushed by the Chan family without a second thought?" "Oh, almost forgot about you," I said. I picked up my soaked canvas bag and hurled it at her. It landed squarely on Princess Laura. I knew who she was. The heiress of the He Corporation. The perfect match for the Chan family. Ryan's childhood friend. Rumor had it, they might even marry someday. But that was none of my business. I was here to tutor, not to be their servant. Anyone who messed with me would get payback. Laura, unaccustomed to such treatment, started screaming. I calmly pulled out my phone and began recording. "What are you doing?" she demanded, letting Chairman Chan see who's distracting his son from studying. I replied. Laura went silent, staring at me in alarm. She knew her family's business relied on the Chan family's support. She feared Chairman Chan. "If there's nothing else, I'll go unpack," I said. I turned to Ryan. He looked just like me at that moment, hair dripping, water droplets trickling down. After a few seconds of silence, he smirked. "What's your name again?" "Melissa." "I'll remember that. You'd better not forget." Chapter 4. Ryan was 4 years younger than me, a classic underachiever, with a college entrance exam score totaling 250 points. It suited him. Really. Chairman Chan wanted to send him abroad, so he sought a top-notch English tutor. Initially, he'd hired foreign tutors, but Ryan was such a handful that he scared them all off. In the end, the task fell to me, though still a student myself. I'd topped the English exam back in high school. Now, I was also the top student in the English department. With the dorm closed for summer, I couldn't stay on campus. So, to tutor Ryan daily, I had to move in with him. That afternoon, as I passed Ryan's gaming room, the door was slightly ajar. Voices drifted through clearly. "Hey, Ryan, this new tutor of yours is kind of interesting, and she's pretty cute, too. Hee hee. Are you blind?" Laura snapped. sounding irritated. She reeks of cheapness. You call that cute? Yeah, right. She's nothing compared to Miss He. I bet she won't last a month here. Ryan, who'd been quiet, suddenly spoke. I give her 3 days. Chapter 5. Soon enough. I understood why Ryan was so confident. He did, in fact, have a nasty trick up his sleeve. The next evening, according to the schedule, I went to Ryan's room to start the lesson. He wasn't at his desk. Instead, I heard the sound of running water from the bathroom. Are you showering? I asked. Yeah, I'll be done soon. In that case, I'll come back in a bit. Wait, he called out, unusually polite. I forgot to grab my towel. It's on the bed. Could you hand it to me? A hand stretched out from the gap in the bathroom door. I noticed that his little finger seemed limp, as if it was broken. Not thinking too much of it, I grabbed the towel. The gray one? Here, catch. Before I could finish, Ryan grabbed my wrist. He pulled me straight into the bathroom. Steam filled the air. Ryan was shirtless, a towel loosely wrapped around his waist. Not even 20. He was at that age where sports were a regular part of life. So, despite not having a workout routine, his physique was toned, with sleek, even lines. I found myself momentarily dazed by the sight. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. A maid called out, "Young master, the fruit is ready." "I'll bring it in." I immediately grasped Ryan's intention. You had the maid bring the fruit at this exact moment, just so she'd catch me intruding in your bathroom, didn't you? Ryan said. Smart girl. The maid will report this to your parents, and they'll fire me. That's right. Do you like your second welcome gift? Thanks. I love it, I replied. Ryan smiled, assuming his plan had worked. But the next moment, I reached out, placing my hand on his muscles. Then I won't hold back. Chapter 6. Ryan was completely stunned. He hadn't anticipated this at all. My fingertips glided over his skin, slowly tracing from his chest downwards. The drops of water left on his skin slid along with my touch, down over his abs and towards the sharp lines of his hips. Occasionally, my fingernail grazed his skin, causing him to shiver involuntarily. His body was lean with a unique youthful strength. Yet, it carried the quiet power of an adult male, a perfect balance of strength and elegance. Below those lines, the towel was loosely wrapped around his waist. A slight tug, and it would fall. Ryan's mind might still be reeling, but his body was already responding. For example, his ears were flushed red, as if they might bleed. And under the towel, "Ryan, do you need me to get you another towel?" I asked softly. My voice was light, like a feather brushing across him. Just then, the maid, tired of waiting, called from outside. "Young master, are you not in the room?" "I'm coming in." "Don't come in," Ryan blurted out. The maid, who had already started to open the door, quickly shut it again. "I'll leave the fruit by the door. Then, I'll be off now," she said, her footsteps gradually fading. Only then did I release my grip and return to my usual, indifferent tone. "You think you can take me on? Did you really think I'd just let you get away with this?" Chapter 7. After that incident, Ryan's frustration with me reached its peak. He had plenty of reasons to be annoyed. For one, his plan had completely backfired. And, to make things worse, I'd walked away, leaving him there, looking foolish. I even overheard him venting to his friends. I never knew what kind of girl I hated the most. But now I do. The kind that Melissa is. Arrogant? Please. If every woman on earth disappeared, I still wouldn't like her. Thankfully, he kept his distance for the next few days, not bothering me anymore. But the unexpected happened on the 7th night. I went to sleep as usual, but I had an extremely strange dream. In the dream, there was another me pinned down by Ryan on his desk, the same desk where we studied every day. One of his hands was undoing my shirt buttons. The other, well, let's just say it was hard to describe. "Sis, I've wanted to do this for 2 years. He spoke in a breathy, hungry tone. "Kiss me, will you?" I watched all of this in shock. On the desk, I noticed a calendar. The date was April 2026. 2 years from now? Could it be? I was dreaming of the future? The scene shifted. Moving to August 2026, the setting changed to a bed. A 20-year-old Ryan, in even better shape than now. In the dim light, his body moved rhythmically. Sweat trickled down from his forehead. Melissa, look at me. I'm your loyal dog. Don't leave me anymore, okay? He begged, looking up at me like a devoted believer. The image was so intense. I couldn't bear it. I woke up with a racing heart. It was just a dream. It meant nothing. I reassured myself and tried to shake it off. Chapter 8. The next morning, Ryan, who usually slept until noon, was already sitting on the couch at 8, staring into space. There were dark circles under his eyes. He didn't look well rested. I greeted him calmly. You're up early. He shot up from the couch, as if he'd just seen a ghost. You, yes? What is it? I would never like you, and I'd never call you sis, okay? Whatever you say. I looked at him. He was stammering, his ears burning red, so unlike his usual cocky demeanor. Something was definitely off. I tossed a dictionary onto his lap. If you're so idle, start learning some vocabulary. In the days that followed, I kept having dreams that seemed to be glimpses of the future. All of them featured Ryan. In 2026, I had a respectable job, dressed every day in a white blouse and pencil skirt. In the dreams, Ryan seemed particularly fond of that outfit. He'd slowly unbutton it, sometimes with his hands, sometimes with his teeth. Then he'd start kissing the skin he revealed. In reality, however, Ryan was avoiding me like the plague, even skipped classes, claiming he was sick, day after day. But after so many lies, it finally came true. That weekend, Ryan really did fall ill. He had a high fever, reaching 39 degrees Celsius, delirious and unable to get out of bed. It just so happened that the maid was out, leaving only the two of us in the villa. For safety, I decided to call Chairman Chan, but before I could finish explaining the situation, he cut me off. Let him stay in bed for a few days. There's no need to report every time he's sick. I paused. Shouldn't we take him to the hospital? No need for that. In the background, I heard someone shout, "Nice shot!" Chairman Chan was playing golf. What if you come see him after you finish your game? I asked. I'm a busy man. His tone was polite but distant. Miss Lissa, just let him fend for himself. How can you say that? I have more than one son. Considering he's the least promising of them all, I've already been more than patient. I didn't know what to say. Did you notice his crooked pinky finger? Chairman Chan suddenly asked. I did. I broke it. Chapter 9. What? I nearly gasped. When he was little, Ryan lied about being sick to trick me into coming home to see him. I was too busy for childish games, so I broke his little finger to teach him a lesson. Chairman Chan chuckled with satisfaction. After that, he straightened out and stopped pulling stunts like that. It's just one finger. Nothing that impacts his life. He's still alive and well, isn't he? A chill crept over me. Suddenly, everything made sense. Why Ryan's personality was so twisted. Growing up in such an environment, it was a wonder he wasn't worse. I stood by his door, looking at him as he lay there in pain. It was like seeing my younger self. I had been the same way. No one cared. Fumbling through life on my own, I decided to pour him a glass of water and get him to take his medicine. Ryan's face was flushed with fever. He looked surprisingly docile. I couldn't resist reaching out to pinch his cheek. It was soft, like a squishy stress ball. Ryan mumbled but didn't resist. Probably didn't have the energy. After he took the medicine, I prepared to leave, satisfied. But then Ryan grabbed my hand. Lisa, sis, what did you just call me? Was he feverish enough to lose his mind? He'd sworn he'd never call me that. Then Ryan leaned his head against my shoulder, his breath scorching. What year is it? Sis, you're here in my dream again. If you don't answer, are you here to just feel my body heat? As he spoke, he guided my hand to the hottest part of his body. Chapter 10. The heat of his skin jolted me back to reality. No doubt, the dreams of the future weren't mine alone. Ryan had dreamed them too. But at that moment, delirious from his fever. He still thought it was all a dream. I quickly pulled my hand away and gave him 2 light slaps. Not hard. Just enough to get his attention. Ryan blinked awake. Just now. You mistook reality for a dream. Oh, it's 2024, not 2026. His eyes went wide. How do you know I dreamed about 2026? Because I dreamed it too. That's impossible. The desk, the carpet, and the bed, though it has gray sheets in the dream. I described the scenes from my dreams. Ryan finally believed me. Then why didn't you say anything? Say what? I asked him. That you might be confessing to me in the future? Ryan fell silent. Stunned. I wasn't wrong. In the dreams, he had been the one begging. So desperately sincere. Remembering those scenes, Ryan's heart raced. A warm flush spreading through him. He pulled the blanket up, covering his lower half, and tried to act cool. Melissa, I don't take those dreams seriously. They're just dreams, they mean nothing. Don't get any ideas. Good. Because I wasn't planning to. I gave a knowing glance at the area he was covering, and smiled. Chapter 11. Ryan and I reached an understanding. We'd pretend the dreams never happened. I was still his tutor. He was still my employer. At the end of July, some uninvited guests arrived. Ryan's brothers. They showed up with a group of friends, claiming they wanted to celebrate his birthday. Ryan's birthday was actually the next day. The 3 brothers came empty-handed. The birthday cake turned into a plaything, thrown around like a toy. The maid mentioned that his brothers visited every month. Each time, they left the house in chaos, making extra work for the maids and cleaners. The whole evening, Ryan's expression was dark and sullen. It wasn't long before the guests started getting tipsy. One of the women leaned against the eldest brother, Luis, and cooed. Your little brother is quite handsome. Luis sneered. He's just a pretty face. Nothing more. He said this right in front of Ryan, without the slightest regard for his dignity. Hey, baby, do you know what he scored on his college entrance exams? How much? 250. Exactly 250. Everyone burst out laughing. No wonder Chairman Chan isn't letting him take over the family business. Doesn't matter if he's the son of the main wife. He still has to step aside for us. I'd heard rumors about Chairman Chan's personal life. He only had one legitimate son, Ryan. But before Ryan was born, Chairman Chan had fathered several children with other women. Ryan's mother had died of breast cancer, driven by the stress of her husband's infidelities. Once she passed away, these brothers took over the house. They'd been coming here like bandits, stealing Ryan's things and bullying him. At first, Chairman Chan tried to keep them in check, but as his mistresses pouted and played the victim, he eventually turned a blind eye. The taunts grew louder. Luis fully let loose, laughing. Strong genes run in the family. Ryan's just like his mom, a useless failure. Ryan's eyes narrowed. His fists clenched tightly. It was clear who that fist was meant for. But before he could make a move, I stepped forward and slapped Luis across the face. Didn't your father teach you how to act like a decent person? Chapter 12. Luis was completely stunned by the slap. I didn't give him a chance to insult me further. I grabbed him by the hair and shoved his face right into the cake. The room erupted into chaos. The women shrieked. Big bro, are you okay? Ryan's other 2 brothers feigned concern but stayed rooted in place, watching Luis with cold amusement. Luis finally recovered enough to yell. Are you 2 blind? Get her off me. But, big bro, men and women aren't supposed to touch, one of them replied. Yet you 2 seem to have no problem touching women when you're out partying. She's still Dad's hired tutor, the other added. Luis was speechless, his rage now redirected at me. Just a tutor, and you dare treat me like this? I'll make sure you regret this. Go ahead, I replied, raising my phone. I recorded everything you just said about Ryan's mom. I wouldn't mind sharing it with your dad or the media. Your father may not be the best man, but he's smart enough to maintain a good public image as a benevolent businessman. Imagine what would happen if people saw a video of his illegitimate son insulting his wife and legitimate son. What do you think the consequences would be? Fear flickered in Luis's eyes. He shoved me aside and made a beeline for the door. I I won't bother with you today, he muttered, fleeing to his car and driving off. The other two brothers, satisfied with the drama, left shortly after. The living room quieted. I turned to Ryan, who was still standing there, stunned. Are you just going to stand there? Ryan finally snapped out of it. Thank you. Don't thank me. I wasn't just doing this for you. I looked at the portrait of Monica on the shelf. She was beautiful and kind. I won't allow anyone to insult her. Ryan was surprised. You knew my mother? She helped sponsor my education. I wasn't lying. Monica had set aside a fund to support underprivileged girls who couldn't afford school. I had been one of the girls who received her aid. When the Chan family approached me to tutor Ryan, I accepted immediately. Partly because of this, Ryan asked, "Aren't you afraid Luis will expose your bluff?" You mean the recording? I smiled. Of course. I hadn't actually recorded anything. The incident had happened so suddenly that no one could have anticipated it. If Luis had taken a moment to think, he'd realize I hadn't had time to record anything. Luckily, he was an idiot, and with his judgment clouded by alcohol, his only response was fear and insecurity. It doesn't matter if he believes it or not. What matters is making him realize we're not easy targets. Ryan's eyes widened slightly. We? Yes. I repeated firmly. We. Chapter 13. Those two words seemed to touch something in Ryan. From day one, I noticed something. He murmured, "You're fearless." I'm not fearless. I just have nothing to lose. My life isn't worth much, so it's not like I'm afraid. I rolled up my sleeves and started cleaning up the cake smeared across the floor. Ryan, surprisingly, helped too. We set aside our differences for once, and as we cleaned, we talked. Are you really just going to let them keep bullying you? My dad doesn't like me. There's nothing I can do. There's plenty you can do. Like what? Turn the tables. Start fighting back. Melissa, are you joking? I'm dead serious. I looked him in the eyes. Over this past month, I've noticed you're smart. When you decide to learn something, you pick it up fast. Your bad grades were deliberate, weren't they? You wanted to get your father's attention that way. Ryan opened his mouth to protest, but he couldn't say a word. It's pointless. Ryan, you're not here to win anyone's approval. Put in the effort and take everything your father has. Make him retire. Make him lose everything. Make him live at your mercy. I sounded like a cunning advisor plotting a prince's rise to power. But Ryan, he seemed intrigued. I pressed on. And what about your so-called friends? Where are they when you need them the most? Do they stand up for you against people like Luis? Could they openly take your side the way I did? It was the truth. Ryan's expression shifted, and he asked, "Then why did you? Why aren't you afraid?" Because I know what it feels like. Ryan didn't say anything for a long time. Outside, the cicadas droned on. The midsummer heat seemed to melt into a spark of ambition that took root inside him. Monica, your son was a bit lost. I just gave him a nudge in the right direction. Consider it my way of repaying you. Chapter 14. By the time we finished cleaning, it was nearly midnight. Ryan yawned. I'm so tired. I need to go to bed. I have to get up early tomorrow to study vocabulary. Wait. I called him back. I have something for you. What? It better not be a new vocabulary list. I hurried to my room and returned with a small gift box. Happy birthday! Ryan froze. I figured you already had everything you need, so I made you a little charm. I hope you don't mind. It was a small cake-shaped charm. The stitching was a bit crooked and uneven. Noticing the flaws, I coughed awkwardly. I didn't have much skill, so don't mind the imperfections. After the cake got ruined today, I thought there wouldn't be any left. I didn't expect this. He looked down with a small smile. His eyes grew misty. It's been a long time since anyone gave me a gift. I really like it. Thank you. He was already handsome, but with that fragile, almost vulnerable look in his eyes. It was heartbreaking. Ryan met my gaze, his eyelashes trembling slightly. What are you looking at? Ryan, you're really quite good looking. The atmosphere shifted subtly. Ryan's ears turned red. For a long time, neither of us spoke. Finally, as if to break the tension, or perhaps without even thinking, Ryan leaned down, Gently. He kissed me. Chapter 15. After his 19th birthday, Ryan changed completely. He became serious about his studies. He soaked up every bit of knowledge he'd missed like a sponge. He also cut ties with his former group of friends. Sometimes, Laura would try to see him. Did that tutor of yours brainwash you somehow? But before she could finish her sentence, Ryan would shut the door in her face. We never had an engagement, he said one day, out of nowhere. Oh, I gave him a strange look. Why are you telling me this? I don't want you to misunderstand. I don't like her, and I've never considered being with her. If you want to explain, don't do it with words. Ryan cupped the back of my head and pressed his lips to mine. Since that birthday night kiss, Ryan couldn't seem to stop. He'd find every excuse to steal kisses from me. I did pretty well on that mock test, didn't I? That's no reason to kiss me. I'm just looking for a little reward. His dark eyes gleamed with desire. He brushed his thumb gently across my lower lip. Melissa, will you be my girlfriend? He was like a seductive demon. The word popped into my mind. It was impossible to resist someone like Ryan. I clung to a thin thread of restraint, pushing him away. Let's talk about it later. Chapter 16. I wasn't trying to lead Ryan on. I just felt like we were from two different worlds. The gap between us was too wide. He might be serious about this now, but I knew it was just a phase. It was the kind of impulsive passion that comes with youth. He didn't care about the real world, but I did. As for those dreams about the future, maybe they really were just dreams. I knew, deep down, one day, we'd go our separate ways, but I didn't expect that day to come so soon. At the end of August, word of my fight with Luis had finally reached Chairman Chan. After all, he was still his son. I was fired, but Chairman Chan had one condition. I was not to tell Ryan that I'd been dismissed. In exchange, he'd recommend me for an internship. It was a valuable opportunity with a prestigious company I'd long admired. Out of curiosity, I asked Chairman Chan, why keep it a secret? He replied, the boy is too attached to you. If he knew I'd fired you, he might go to extremes. You're overestimating his impulsiveness. He's my son. I know him best. After a pause, Chairman Chan added, now is the best time to separate you two before he falls too deeply. So, he'd known everything all along. Nothing escaped his eyes. He left the choice to me. Was there even anything to think about? I accepted the internship without hesitation. On my last day, I was calm. I taught Ryan his final lesson. Then I closed the book and said, that's it. Oblivious. Ryan yawned and went off to bed. Once he'd fallen asleep, I quietly packed my old suitcase and closed the door behind me, ready to start the life that belonged to me. Chapter 17. The job Chairman Chan arranged for me was in City C. It was a Fortune 500 company, an incredible opportunity. I threw myself into the work, fueled by excitement. I worked hard, building up my experience. Aside from my graduation defense, I rarely returned to City A. In the blink of an eye, 2 years passed. I returned to City A because of a job change. I had resigned from the big company and transferred to a subsidiary of the Chan Group. The reason was simple. Chan Group offered a higher salary. After the transition, life was calm. Until that Friday, our department was attending a job fair at a university. Before the event started, I sat backstage playing a game on my phone. It seemed like someone had arrived outside. A colleague at the door was greeting them warmly. I asked casually, who's here? My gaming partner next to me replied, the boss's son, Luis or Kevin or the youngest one, Ryan. I froze. Hey, use your skill. You're about to get killed in the game. My partner nudged me. Ryan? I thought he went abroad. Who knows? They sent him abroad. But then he suddenly changed his mind, repeated a year, took the college entrance exam again, and actually got into a university. My partner clicked his tongue in wonder. Can you believe it? Everyone thought he'd never amount to anything, and now he's the golden child in the boss's eyes. Quick, stop playing. He's coming in. I instinctively looked up. That figure was so familiar it made my heart skip a beat. Chapter 18. Ryan hadn't seen me yet. He just walked to the entrance and greeted the manager. In the 2 years since we'd last met, he'd grown taller. There was a new maturity in his features. He looked more and more like the Ryan from my dreams. After the job fair, my colleagues and I stayed behind to clean up. They were chatting about rumors involving Ryan. Have you heard the gossip about the boss's youngest? Which one? They say he's totally hung up on a girl, completely loyal and devoted. Ha. Like the classic stories, romantics are always born into rich families. Is it Laura? I heard they grew up together, and the families match perfectly. My hands paused as I listened silently. I also heard it's Laura. A few days ago, she posted a hand-holding photo on her social media, and people said it was with Ryan. The conversation drifted as I got lost in thought, so much so that I didn't notice my colleagues suddenly went silent. Could someone pass me a zip tie? I asked, still looking down. No one responded for a moment. Then I looked up, belatedly realizing why. Ryan was standing behind me, holding an entire pack of zip ties. Chapter 19. My colleagues were discreetly silent. Ryan idly twirled the zip ties in his hand, slapping them lightly against his palm. It echoed in my chest like a heartbeat. Decided to come back? His tone was indifferent. Long time no see. Impressive that you still remember me. Miss Lissa. He enunciated the words deliberately. He had never called me that in the past. And now here he was, saying it. I forced myself to speak. Congratulations on getting into a university. Ryan let out a quiet scoff. If 2 years ago he'd been a troublemaker who loved to tease, now he'd matured, and the fierceness in his gaze had only intensified. I straightened up, leaning on my knee. Ryan noticed my outfit, a white blouse, professional attire. Certain memories from the dreams came rushing back. His gaze darkened, growing unfathomable. A colleague leaned over and whispered, "One. Do you know Ryan? I tutored him once, but things seem a little tense between you two." I pressed my lips together. Maybe I was too strict with him when I taught him. The colleague didn't question it. Anyway, let's go out for dinner tonight to celebrate the successful job fair. Sounds great. Everyone agreed enthusiastically. Just then, one of our colleagues from the events team piped up. Should we invite the young master to join? The others were ready to kick him. Why would you ask that? He's got classes to attend. Exactly. The young master is busy. I'm not. Ryan's lips curved slightly as he glanced at me. Turns out I'm free tonight. Dinner, with an unexpected guest. Everyone was on their best behavior, too cautious to speak freely. Finally, one of the event colleagues had a bit too much to drink and dared to sling an arm over Ryan's shoulder. Young master, just call me Ryan. Ryan, you're a great guy. No wonder you managed to turn things around and get into a university. I have to say, I'm impressed. The rest of us held our breaths, but Ryan didn't seem bothered. He politely responded, "Thank you, David." His demeanor had changed completely. He was so calm and composed. It was almost shocking, yet the smile on his face remained faint, as if hidden behind an impenetrable veil. Hiccup, Ryan. I hear congratulations are in order. David slurred, raising a glass to him. I'm still single. Why would I need congratulating? Huh? Aren't you and Missy engaged? I saw a photo of you two holding hands. Didn't you make it official? Ryan raised an eyebrow in surprise. I haven't spoken to her in ages. Why would there be a photo of us together? Oh, so it was just a misunderstanding then. David laughed awkwardly. But Ryan, a guy like you must have girls lining up for you at school, right? I wouldn't know. I don't pay attention to that. Ryan suddenly looked up and gave me a warm smile. Miss Lissa, didn't you tell them? You were my first kiss. Chapter 20. The dinner table fell eerily silent. As bold as I am, even I wanted to crawl into a hole. David sobered up instantly. He laughed nervously. Ha, did I just hear something I shouldn't have? Things had spun out of my control. My colleagues quickly found excuses to leave, practically running out of the restaurant, leaving just me and Ryan. He calmly peeled a shrimp, as if nothing had happened. Ryan's hands were beautiful, white, long-fingered. Once he'd finished, he placed the shrimp in my bowl. I sighed. Why did you say that? People will misunderstand. What's there to misunderstand? I only spoke the truth. We don't need to tell colleagues about things from years ago. Don't like it? Not really. Interesting. He looked up. Because I didn't like how you left without a word and vanished. So now we're even. So today, you're just trying to make me uncomfortable? He didn't answer, which meant he was admitting to it. I didn't say anything more. I had no excuse. Leaving without a word was my fault. So there was nothing to argue. After a while, Ryan finally spoke. I know it was the old man who fired you. It wasn't your choice to leave. But the outcome is the same. It's not the same. Ryan shook his head. What upsets me is that you didn't talk to me about it. You just made the decision on your own. I have the right to choose my own path. I didn't need to discuss it with you. Why? Because there's too big a gap between us. We're from different worlds. And besides, who are you to think you should have a say in my decisions? Ryan's face turned cold. I was reminding him that we'd never truly been together. I continued. For example, if you hadn't seen me today, we would never have crossed paths. Nor would we meet again. But I did see you. No matter where you are, I'll go out of my way to find you. Ryan's low voice reverberated in my ears. So, we'll be seeing each other often from now on. Melissa, be ready for that. Chapter 21. Ryan quickly proved that he wasn't just making idle threats. Our team was assigned a new project, and we received unexpected news from the supervisor. Ryan would be joining us. Somehow, he'd secured a place on the project team. Could it be that Chairman Chan had changed his mind about grooming him for the business? Although Ryan was only a college freshman, he was already 21 due to his repeated grades and the year he spent studying abroad. He was fully capable of handling project work. Our supervisor gave me a knowing look. Lissa, as the team leader, I hope you'll keep an eye on him. Luckily, Ryan didn't slack off at all. His skills exceeded everyone's expectations, and he never asked for special treatment despite his background. Gradually, the team warmed up to him, and he blended in well. When the project was nearing completion, our team took the clients out for dinner. That evening, I stayed behind at the office to work on a proposal, and that's when things went wrong. At 10 o'clock, I got a call from my colleague, Little E, team leader. There's a problem. Ryan got into a fight with the client. What? My first thought was that Ryan wasn't usually this impulsive. It's not entirely his fault. Team leader, Little E explained hesitantly. He did it because of, well, you. I saved my work, grabbed my bag, and rushed to the restaurant. On the way, Little E explained what had happened. This client representative was a sleazy, lecherous middle-aged man, fueled by alcohol. He'd asked, "Why isn't your team leader Lissa here? She's working late at the office tonight." My colleagues had replied, "That's not right. I came specifically for her. With her here, this deal would go much more smoothly." My colleagues quickly sensed trouble and tried to shield me. "We can handle the negotiations without her. The project details remain the same." The client waved them off dismissively. "I only want Lissa. It's rare to meet someone like her. She's not just beautiful, but there's a charm in those cold, distant eyes. Just one look from her and I go weak at the knees. Come on, give her a call. If she keeps me company tonight, the deal will." But before he could finish, Ryan's fist had already made contact. The situation spiraled out of control, and my colleagues had no choice but to call me. When I arrived, the private room was a mess. Chapter 22. Ryan didn't know that my colleagues had called me, and I had no idea what he was thinking at that moment. He was engulfed in fury, like a beast driven by a primal rage. The client representative, now disheveled and cowering in the corner, was terrified, snot and tears mixing as he pleaded. "How dare you hit me? I'm canceling the contract. I'm going straight to Chairman Chan about this." "Go ahead." Ryan's voice was eerily calm. The calmer he was, the more terrifying he seemed. The client's companions looked on, stunned. None of them moved to intervene. Perhaps they weren't particularly fond of him either. Ryan stepped closer. In his mind, he was filled with thoughts of Melissa, her smile, her frown, her anger, every small detail of her, and the softness of her lips. Ryan had long recognized that he had a possessive obsession with Melissa. Just the thought of Melissa standing beside another man, smiling at him, frowning, showing any emotion, ignited a dark rage within him, a violent urge to bring everything down. Melissa was like a distant deity. He wanted nothing more than to bow at her feet, kissing her toes, and these filthy men thought they had the right to desire her? 2 years of growth had made Ryan more composed, better at hiding his true feelings, but when it came to Melissa, he was dangerously unbalanced. The bald client, still oblivious, continued to provoke him. You're into that girl, aren't you? If you'd just told me, I'd have let you have her back once I was done. Done? Death would be too kind. He deserved nothing less. Without a word, Ryan bent down to pick up a shard of a broken bottle. He raised his hand, and then someone called his name. Ryan! The voice cut through the chaos, grounding him. The voice's owner rushed over. She took his other hand, bowed her head, and kissed his palm. Ryan, calm down. I'm here. Ryan froze. The feeling of her lips electrified him, sending tremors down his spine. Melissa intertwined her fingers with his, as if to lock that kiss in his palm. Be good. Let it go. Ryan obeyed her command. He immediately released the broken bottle. Looking down, he spoke gently. I'll do as you say. Chapter 23. Our colleagues stayed behind to handle the aftermath. I escorted Ryan home. Initially, I'd intended to take him back to his dorm, but by that hour, the dorms were closed, so I took him back to the villa instead. It had been 2 years since I'd been there, yet nothing had changed in Chairman Chan's decor. Thanks for today. Take a shower and get some rest. I told him. Aren't you mad at me? Mad at you for what? I asked. You acted impulsively because you were protecting me, though it wasn't ideal. I would never blame someone who stood up for me. Ryan seemed relieved. He dropped his head, resting it on my shoulder. Sorry, he murmured. It's all right. We can negotiate the deal again. I know you were looking forward to this project. I'll find a way to make up for it. I patted him on the shoulder. I was looking forward to the project bonus, but that doesn't mean I'd tolerate being insulted. Ryan shifted his head slightly. It tickled my neck. Then, he became a bit bolder. He pressed soft kisses along my shoulder and neck, testing my reaction. When he realized I wasn't pushing him away, he gently cupped my face and deepened the kiss. This kiss was more passionate than ever, more intense. Before I knew it, my back was pressed against the desk, the same desk where I'd once tutored him in English. Ryan's hand slid lower. Did you miss me? Even a little? He murmured, his eyes bright with desire. Not really. He gave my hand a gentle squeeze. No lying tonight. Fine. I missed you. How did you think of me? His gaze was full of mischief. Did you feel the way I do? And how did you think of me? I threw the question back. He chuckled, guiding my hand. When I thought of you, I'd do this. Thank goodness for the dim lighting that hid my flushed cheeks. After a while, Ryan finally whispered, May I? I nodded. He freed one hand, unbuttoning my blouse. Lissa sis, I've wanted this for 2 years. Kiss me, won't you? Then I noticed. The calendar on the desk displayed today's date, April 2026. The dream was real. Chapter 24. Once Ryan got a taste, he was insatiable. At 21, he had boundless energy. He didn't let me go until dawn. Before falling asleep, he looked at me with bright eyes, asking, Sis, how was I? I replied, very good. His face lit up, eager to go for another round. Thankfully, I managed to kick him away just in time. Somehow, we settled into a friends with benefits situation. As a partner, Ryan was flawless, and he kept his word about making up for the project setback. After getting into trouble with the client, he accepted full responsibility, shielding all the other colleagues from any consequences. He then contacted a childhood friend who was well connected with the other company. After several rounds of discussion, the other side agreed to replace the client representative and continue the project. The new representative was a young woman, just a few years older than me. On her first day, she came to me to apologize. She said, That previous guy was out of line. It's only right that we apologize. Looking at her business card, something clicked. Were you one of Monica's sponsored students? Yes. Were you, too? I remember seeing your name on the list. It felt incredible to see how far we'd come in our lives and careers. The collaboration went smoothly from that point on. I even received the project bonus. As spring turned to summer, I agreed to meet a blind date. This particular man, I had met 6 months ago. A well-meaning colleague had introduced him. He wasn't a bad match. Certainly not one of those odd blind dates. But I simply didn't feel any chemistry. Over the past few months, he tried multiple times to set up another date. I'd politely declined each time. Last week, my colleague approached me again, looking a bit uncomfortable. Lisa, maybe you should meet him for one last dinner. He seems genuinely interested in you. Honestly, sis, no matter how many dinners we have, I'm not going to change my mind. I understand. I'm not pushing you, but maybe just turn him down in person, firmly, so he knows for sure. He's a bit persistent. All right. So, to do my colleague a favor, I went to the meeting on Saturday night. I already have a boyfriend. I told him, please don't ask me out again. Oh, when did this happen? Recently. He looked disappointed but accepted it. He said he had a gift for me, a preserved rose. Not wanting to accept it, I reached out to push it back. At that moment, I felt a cold gaze on my back. I turned instinctively. Ryan was standing there, watching with an expressionless face. Chapter 25. I was practically carried home by Ryan. Since it was summer break, he'd moved back into the villa. He tossed me onto the bed, dimming the lights. Then, without a word, he tore off my blouse's buttons. Lisa, who was that? A blind date. His hand paused, and he gripped a little harder. My skin bruised easily, and that one motion left a red mark on my chest. You wore a skirt this short just to see him? Upset? I smiled to myself and decided to tease him. Yes. Ryan's response was to bite my skin furiously. I endured his stormy possessiveness. Tonight, he was rougher than ever. Our intertwined shadows danced on the wall, mirroring the rhythm of our movements. Sweat dripped from his forehead. Melissa, look at me. After the storm, his tone softened to a plea. I'm your loyal dog. Don't leave me again, okay? Okay. You won't see him again, will you? I wasn't planning to, I said, explaining the whole story. He sighed with relief. No other dates either. I don't intend to go on any more blind dates. I touched his face and whispered softly. Because I already have a boyfriend. Ryan's whole body trembled with joy. You'll finally let me be official? Yes. I thought it through. Even if we're from different worlds, we can try. A boyfriend with his looks, background, and stamina? Why not? Ryan's determination shone even brighter than mine. With a smile, his eyes sparkled like a galaxy of stars. Melissa, don't worry. I'll break down the walls between our worlds for you. Chapter 26. The next day, we both slept until noon. We were woken by the doorbell. Ryan kissed my cheek, reluctant to get up, and went to answer the door. It was his childhood friend. Whoa! His friend stared at the scratch and bite marks on Ryan's skin, wide-eyed. You got a girlfriend? Yes. Ryan puffed out his chest proudly. From now on, I'm different from you single guys. You're such a show-off. I just finished getting dressed and came out. Who's here? When his friend saw me, his eyes widened even more, nearly as big as saucers. It's her, your tutor. Yep, my one-one. Ryan said with a smug tone. Dude, weren't you the one who swore you wouldn't like her even if she were the last woman on Earth? The room fell silent. Sorry, bro. Didn't mean to say that out loud. His friend awkwardly covered his mouth. Yes, I said that. Ryan admitted openly. But then, without missing a beat, he raised his hand and slapped himself. Sorry, sis. I've already punished myself for you. Chapter 27. In the years that followed, Ryan and I weathered many seasons together. We both grew rapidly. We went through countless storms, but we made a great team. Ryan worked his way up until he stood face to face with his father. He was tougher than Chairman Chan, and smarter. Most importantly, he had the support of the Lee family. In the past, his rebelliousness had estranged him from his grandparents. Now that he was determined to make something of himself, they were thrilled to help him. With their backing, Luis and the others were nothing. Oh, and Luis ended up in prison, on charges of gambling and exploiting women. His other two brothers didn't fare much better. One broke his leg, and the other was forced to flee overseas after crossing the wrong people. There were rumors that their misfortunes were all Ryan's doing. People in the company feared him. They called him a wild beast that couldn't be tamed. As for me, I'd earned a nickname, the Beast Tamer. I was Ryan's one weakness. His leash. As long as I was around, Ryan was much more restrained. And then, Ryan succeeded in seizing the throne. He brought his newly built empire to me and proposed. On our wedding day, we kept it simple. Monica's former assistant flew back from abroad. She hurried over to tell us. Before she passed, Mrs. Lee recorded messages for all the girls she sponsored. The data was damaged, but we finally managed to restore it. I immediately paused the ceremony to play the video. This was also Ryan's chance to see his mother again. After a brief crackling sound, Monica's image appeared on the screen. Ryan froze, his breathing slowing as he watched. Hello, Melissa. If you're seeing this, I imagine you've achieved great things. I can't be there to congratulate you, but my hope is that you'll always be free. At the end, as if remembering something, she smiled softly and added, "Oh, and I have a son named Ryan. For some reason, I have a feeling you two will meet one day. If that day ever comes, please tell him." Her smile was warm and gentle as she said, "There will be someone in this world who loves him."